Yale Berry was born in Roxbury, Massachusetts, just after the Great Depression began, to a life of poverty. His family was in turmoil, and their situation was not helped by the fact that Yale's father was laid off from his job early in Yale's life. With his new job as a box maker, Yale's father could barely sustain their relatively small family of 6 throughout Yale's childhood. Yale was so hungry some nights he couldn't get to sleep, and he had to take food from the family stores. After being poor for most of his childhood, he joined the Marine Reserves during the Korean War. Yale's experience in the Marines gave him a discipline necessary to become a doctor, making him the millionaire he is today. Yale Berry has lived the quintessential American story of rising from rags to riches through education and determination, despite the hard times he endured during the post-Depression era.
Well, yeah, we only had a 2-bedroom apartment. And I have 2 sisters, so they got 1 bedroom, my parents got the other. I slept on a cot in the hallway, sort of dining room. It was very, very poor.
Yale grew up in a household with no money. His family didn't even have enough money to pay for basic human necessities, such as decent clothes. Consequently, Yale felt embarrassed when he went to school, and so often avoided classes altogether. He spent his time on the streets, with other children in similar situations. While he did not do well in school, mostly because he never attended, Yale gained vocational skills on the streets, and developed an eagerness to learn which would fully manifest itself later in his life. He attended extra classes at Harvard, and worked tirelessly to get into college. FDR's New Deal, while effective for some, did not help Yale's family out of poverty, partially because he was Jewish, and his parents were immigrants. He would need a drastic change in his life if he ever wanted to escape poverty.
I really didn't study. I didn't go to classes. I didn't have clothes to it. I had holes in my pants and everything, so I go to school once or twice a week.
Yale's time in the Marines was this life-changing experience, and it totally revamped his world. Where before he had needed to work odd jobs or gamble to make money for basic necessities, he now had what seemed to him like a bounty of food and clothes. Although he never actually fought in the Korean War, he got a taste of American military experience and learned punctuality and responsibility from his time in the Marines. Not everybody was as fortunate as Yale in the military, but he thinks it was one of the most positive times in his life. So, how did your life change when you were in the Marines?
Oh, it was wonderful. I had clothes. I had, soap and, toothbrush and toothpaste and stuff like that.
After leaving the Marines, Yale took his education seriously. He got into Boston University and then continued on to Tufts Medical School. He became a prominent ear, nose, and throat doctor, also known as an otolaryngologist, at Massachusetts Eye and Ear Infirmary. He is widely known for his adeptness and humor regarding his profession. His education was financed by FDR's GI Bill from 1944, as were the educations of thousands of other soldiers.
When I went to medical school, I worked every night until midnight. And weekends, holidays, and things like that to make my 40 hours a week. Really solid Tennessee excursion.
Pardon me, boy, is that the Chattanooga choo-choo?
Yes, yes. Even before I went to service, and the lab used to do blood tests, urine tests, pregnancy tests, things like that. And so, I thought that was pretty good. I thought that I knew I was going to get the GI Bill when we got out of the service. And so I thought that if I could learn other things. I could be a really fancy lab technician.
Gotta keep it rolling. Woo woo, Chattanooga, there you are.
There's gonna be a certain party at the station.
When I applied for my internship, then they saw me, they knew me. You know, then someone said, "Well, why are you applying to, you know, for an internship? Aren't you, you know."
Through perseverance, focus, and the help of programs enacted during World War II, specifically the GI Bill, Yale was able to escape the grasp of poverty, which so often completely traps those within its reach. Though many of his affiliates were not as fortunate, Yale proves that it is possible to live the American dream and rise from rags to riches. Well, you said everything was abnormal in those days, so
Well,
would
that
you-
was probably normal for.
probably normal for the days, but would you say that there's any lesson that you learned or anything that you remember that you think are applicable today? Anything that you'd say to today's generation with your experience?
Well, I don't know. You know, it depends.